The biggest day in Son's life, some Ange Postecoglou quotes, and Spurs kit colour for the final in Bilbao. All this and more in your latest edition of the Tottenham Daily News headlines. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well. Here is today's edition of the Daily Tottenham News headlines. Ange Postecoglou on did anyone give him a decision to make for the final? He said, I think from my perspective, at least different to the Palace game, I felt that the lads worked hard and competed and at least made it difficult for the opposition. So from that perspective, I thought that was more important for me than the individual context. It was good to get some match minutes into players like Sonny and Wilson, and a lot of these guys haven't played a lot this year, so just to get them through another game was important. Postecoglou said on Sarr and more after the defeat at Villa, Pape felt something in his back, so we took him off as a bit of a precaution. I don't think it's anything too significant speaking to him afterwards, but he just felt something in his back, and I think Mikey was okay. It was fatigue as much as anything else. He hasn't played that sort of amount of minutes before. Postecoglou went on, the fact that Son going to be available to be ready for the final on Wednesday? Well, he's ready and he's available. He started today. They're all ready to start, so I think playing 70 to 75 minutes today was important for him, and you could see he opened up a couple of times, and I think he's feeling it's as much about Sonny himself and feeling that he's getting back into a rhythm, and I think there were moments tonight where he showed that. Ange Postecoglou said on Romero, Van der Ven and Udogie being left out the squad and that they won't have played in 2 weeks leading up to the final. He said, yeah, but they are available. They are available. For us, there's no point bringing them here. They weren't going to play today. They stayed at home. They did a really strong session, and come Wednesday, knock on wood, they are all available, and that's the most important thing. That's the primary thing. When those guys play, that back four with Vic in goal, our chances of success significantly improve. Ange Postecoglou on the importance of having Heung-min back is important, especially when we've lost some key players in recent times. Madders is also one of the leaders, and Decky and Lucas in the last 3 weeks. Now getting Sonny back at least gives us another experienced player. I think the last 2 or 3 fixtures, our average age has been 3 or 4 years younger than the opposition. You can see that at times, so just having another experienced player available is great for the team. Heung-min says he feels good and he's ready for our UEFA Europa League final against Manchester United in Bilbao on Wednesday, 8 PM kickoff UK time in case you didn't know. After 74 minutes stint against Aston Villa on Friday, speaking to the club's review show from Villa Park, Sonny said, I feel good, a little tired, first game back, but physically I feel good and ready to go. He said today, 70 minutes, it was good to get that game time in my legs. Crystal Palace as well. When I came on and played 25-30 minutes last week, the most important thing is everybody got fit for Wednesday. I'll be ready for Wednesday. And on the final, Sonny said, as I said, our objective is to get a result on Wednesday, so let's get everyone together on Wednesday. From now on, everyone together, one goal, together it will happen. Sonny also said that the final will be the biggest day of his life. Luka Vuskovic on next season at Spurs. He said, right now, I don't know anything yet. They told me to finish this season calmly and as well as I can, and then we'll talk. But they did say they'd like to have me at the pre-season with them. If they want me to stay, I'll stay. but if I don't think I'll get many chances because the club has top defenders, and maybe it would be smarter to go on loan for another season. Guillermo Vicario, on his mindset ahead of the Europa League final, he said, we have to know that the team that has the right mentality and makes the least mistakes will be the one that lifts the trophy. And we have to stay focused for 90, 120 minutes for as long as it takes to win. We want this trophy because it would mean making history for this club, ending up in the photos that are inside the stadium, seeing ourselves again next year as we walk down the corridor that leads to the locker rooms while we lift the cup. We want to try to do that. Gary Neville said on the overlap, I said it last week, I've got a sickly feeling about this game next Wednesday, a sickly feeling. And the biggest reason I've got a sickly feeling is when I look at every single player in the Tottenham team. Maddison, I like Maddison, so I don't want him not to be available. But when you look at Kulusevski, Son, Brendan Johnson, Solanke, if Maddison was there, Bissouma and Sarr, Romero and Van der Ven, Porro, Udogie, when you look at those players, like for like with United, only Bruno, in my opinion, would get into the first 11 of Spurs. I would select every single Tottenham player. I said this earlier in the season, the goalkeeper is a 50-50 split because I don't like Vicario and I'm not a fan of Onana. But honestly, Udogie, Porro, Van der Ven, Romero, Bissouma, Sarr, Johnson, Maddison, Solanke, Kulusevski, Son. I would choose every single player of Tottenham's over Manchester United's next Wednesday night. That's my worry. Stats from Opta, Manchester United's defeat to Chelsea means they will finish this Premier League campaign without winning 2 matches in a row all season. The third time in the club's history that they've gone an entire league season without winning back-to-back games after 1893 to 94 and 1921 to 1922. Another stat from Opta, Tottenham have now lost 25 games in all competitions this season, their joint most defeats in a single campaign in their history, along with 1991-92 season. Roy Keane on the final. You still have to fancy United. Someone like Bruno can produce. The history of Manchester United still carries a bit of weight, he told Sky Sports. There's not much between them in the league, but come the crunch, come the final, United's history in finals, then winning cups, the last few years, you'd like to think they would have a bit more knowledge around the game than Spurs that might edge it for them. And I think Bruno can produce that bit of magic. Jamie Redknapp added, Dejan Kulusevski's injury is a massive blow for Spurs. It feels like a 50-50 game for me. For Tottenham, it is an opportunity to change the narrative and history of the club. If they win a cup, their league position will be irrelevant. If they win a cup, then the players will have hero status. And when asked who he thinks will win, Jamie Redknapp said, I haven't got a clue. And finally, news just in, Spurs will wear our all-white home kit in the Europa League final. So here's my thoughts on those stories. Firstly, when Ange Postecoglou was asked, did anyone give him a decision to make for the final? Go and judge him by his answers there. I don't think anybody did, to be honest with you. Few players actually got some knocks. That's why he was asked about Sarr and Moore. I said they should be okay, but for me, I don't think Ange Postecoglou's changed his opinion on what his starting lineup is going to be on Wednesday. For me, although it was a better, certainly first half against Aston Villa, I didn't really see any players pushing to make that first 11 over the 11 that we probably most of us think are going to take to the pitch as the opening 11 on Wednesday. So yeah, it was a good run out though to get minutes in players' legs. Sonny and a few others, good to get minutes in their legs, but I think that starting 11 is pretty much nailed on now. And Ange Postecoglou saying about Sonny and his fitness, is he going to be available? And he said about 70-75 minutes today, and that it's good to get minutes in his legs. I think that's good news. Some people didn't think Sonny played that well against Aston Villa. I disagree. I thought he was pretty good, to be honest. He did open his legs up a couple of times and showed he still got the pace and did cut inside and had a couple of shots. So, look, we need Sonny on that pitch. I think I really do. We've obviously got other players to bring on if we need them, like Odebear, for example. But I think Sonny needs to start that final. I think he deserves to start that final. But look, some would disagree. I've seen people say that Son shouldn't start. I think Sonny should. So, but you know, you might have a different opinion to me. Get down in the comments and let me know. Quite clear. Again, Ange Postecoglou talking about Romero, Van der Ven and Udogie being left out of the squad. We all know what that back four is going to be. Porro, Udogie, Van der Ven and Romero. I think that was a wise decision. He obviously places a lot of Tottenham's ability to win this game on that back four, and thinks perhaps that without that back four in place, every single member, we'd be in a much weaker position, and I have to agree. He goes on talking about the importance of having Sonny back. Maddison, obviously, we're told he's out. Obviously, Kulusevski, as we know that, and Lucas, still not sure. Ange says he is, so we have to take his word for it, obviously, unless he, as I said before, if he's got an ace up his sleeve with Lucas Bergvall. But, yeah, big losses in the middle of the park. I'm still concerned about the middle of the park. And I actually said on a recent podcast that I think you could see Tottenham playing a little bit more pragmatically and playing out to the wings rather than through the middle, because we just haven't got that playmaker for the final. Great news that Sonny actually said he feels good. Those 74 minutes against Villa stand him in good stead. And as I said, he came through it uninjured, unscathed, so that's brilliant. And I love this from Sonny, saying that it will be the biggest day of his life if we win the final. Well, I think that he said the final will actually be the biggest day of his life, but you have to say Champions League was probably up there. But I think he's probably talking about winning it. So let's hope we can get over the line. Luka Vuskovic, yeah, it's difficult for Luka because he's obviously still so young. He sees that Spurs have got Van der Ven, Romero, Danso, and obviously Dragushin when he's fit, and still Ben Davies at the club. So he's probably thinking, where does he fit in? You know, he'd be a new player to the side, young player. They're going to have a look at him in pre-season. I'm really interested to see Luka Vuskovic in pre-season and see how he gets on. And then the decision will be made, obviously, if he goes back out on loan or stays with the first 11. Vicario, I love what Vicario says here. All positive stuff. Lifting the trophy, staying focused, how much they want to win this trophy, how much they want to see pictures of themselves outside the locker rooms. All saying the right stuff, but you know, you've got to perform and you've got to do what you say you're going to do. So let's hope they can get the job done Wednesday. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but you know, I'm as desperate as the rest of us for Spurs to win on Wednesday. Interesting comments from Gary Neville, I have to say. I think Neville is genuinely concerned. Obviously, this was when Neville was talking about this, he probably didn't know about Maddison's injury, Kulusevski, because he's mentioned these players. But you can tell that he is nervous about this game because we've turned them over 3 times this season. And to beat them a 4th time, that would be, it'd be outstanding, really, wouldn't it? But, you know, some people say, oh, Spurs surely can't beat Manchester United 4 times a season. Yes, we can. But the boys, as I say, have got to go out there and do it. The stats from Opta, Manchester United, you know, they haven't won 2 matches in a row in the Premier League this season. That is incredible for a club like Manchester United. But Spurs, having lost 25 games in all competitions this season, that is poor. But we're in a Europa League final, so it really is all or nothing on Wednesday. Roy Keane talking about United, Tottenham. I think he's obviously going to say United. I think Roy Keane's actually a Tottenham fan deep down, but or so I've heard. But you know, he's talking about Bruno. But you know, I if I was a neutral, I'd probably call this 50-50, to be honest with you, because it's just 2 poor sides, certainly in the league, battling out a Europa final. He's utter madness. And Jamie Redknapp, I agree. Kulusevski's injury is a massive blow. Having said that, Kulusevski, he'd been out injured and other players had stepped up, and Kulusevski hadn't really got back to his brilliant best. So, you know, is he going to be a huge loss? I think he would have been a brilliant player, certainly, to bring on. Whether he'd have started, I don't know. But obviously, I'd rather have him in the squad than not. And the last bit of news that was just in, that Spurs will wear our all-white home kit in the Europa League final. I'd have preferred the green, if I'm honest, but I think they're just going for tradition with that one, wearing all white. Whether it's a contractual obligation, I don't know, but I just think there's something about that green kit in Europe. So yeah, let me know what you think. Get down in the comments. What colour kit would you have preferred Spurs to wear? We're wearing white. Would you have preferred green? Anyway, that's all for today. Get down in the comments. Share your views. How are you feeling right now as a Tottenham fan? Come on, you Spurs.